It's been a week and a half of rain, wind, and snow just here in Northern California, and no parts of our area have gone untouched. Tonight, thousands of people are still in the dark, and some evacuations are already underway. Today, I even spoke with the National Guard as they arrived in South Sacramento County. And just hours ago, I visited the Wilton Fire Protection District. And man, these firefighters cannot catch a break. This is what it looked like at their fire station. They were responding to calls of downed power lines over the weekend when they heard a crash and a loud boom and came outside and saw power lines down on their own station. Thankfully, I checked with the guys. No one was hurt. And I was at Wilton Fire just last week where they showed us where people got caught in those dangerous floodwaters. And they are really stressing that if you are told to leave, leave. And they are volunteer firefighters who are really the first line of protection for Wilton. And during that New Year's Eve storm, they responded to 38 calls, not involving what happened out on Dillard Road. Today, I spoke with one of only two, yes, only two advanced life support paramedics that Wilton Fire has. And I want you to meet him. Remember his name, remember his face, because he is the only advanced life support paramedic working for Wilton Fire tonight.
We're the first responders for within Wilton, and we do provide that first line of care. Again, however, once those floodwaters do make those roads inaccessible, there's no help from the outside. There's no longer any assistance from Consumnes or Sac Metro or anybody else. So I mean, that's where it becomes a little tricky, and I try to keep myself available for all those calls because I don't know where that help is going to be needed. I want to make sure I'm there for when it's needed the most. Once the floods happen, there's no way we can get to some areas.
So right now, if like the levees break or if we have to do any kind of evacuations kind of stuff, but mainly we could go up to 20 inches without turning our fans off, and then we could go all the way to the floorboards with our fans off. So any kind of big vehicle rescues that we need to do, stuff like that. Because with like the fire trucks, they sit a lot lower, so they're having a harder time and they're hurting their equipment, where we're more designed and set up for that kind of high risk. Pretty much just try not to drive when you know your vehicle can't go through it and you don't want to suck water into there and get yourself in a risk or your family.
We're very happy to have everybody that's here, and we're ready for anything that could happen. We are a volunteer department. I mean, I'm one of two full-time fire captains, but this job is being done by volunteer firefighters, and we're not as well equipped or well funded as our big brothers from the south and north, but we're still doing the same job, and I want people to know that these guys are doing their job to the best of their ability and sometimes well above and beyond. And they're rock stars, and I want people to know that.
And the Wilton Fire Protection District wants you to know that they have upped their staffing and also their engines. They also have food, blankets, and water. All you have to do is just contact the station if you do need some. Now, today I also went up the road to the Wilton Bridge area where Reclamation District 800 and Sacramento County are still repairing levees. And that's also where I met a longtime cattle rancher.
My parents and grandparents built out here in the mid-'80s, and it's always been a concern of ours.
Now, he told me that it's hard to say if the New Year's Eve storm would have been minimal or catastrophic, but what really saved his land was the fast actions of Reclamation District 800.
Repairs that RD 800 has done to the property here has put us in a very great position to be safe, and the rest of the community too.
I was also with Reclamation District 800 last week. They showed us the largest levee break damage that they are working to repair right now. And last week, they felt like they were alone with no help from outside agencies or departments. But man, what a difference a week makes. I caught up with Leland from Reclamation District 800, who told me after local news stories began to air, Sacramento's Office of Emergency Services and other agencies have stepped in to help them out.
Got us 4 light towers. They've gotten us 100 yards of sand for sandbagging. They dropped off 20,000 sandbags the other day. They got all of our guys that are out here, 60 guys, all headlamps and flashlights. Anything we need, they have been there for us. They've actually made the connection with DWR for us. DWR called on Sunday. We had a conference call with DWR. They were out here an hour and a half later on the levee. They have a crew here the next day frickin' sandbagging and tarping the levees that we couldn't access with equipment.
Monica, gotta love seeing everyone work together. A little rainbow in the storm there.
Yeah, and a little voice making the problems known. As far as our radar, you can see the rain has tapered off for most of the valley. However, we're still looking at areas of rain for the northern San Joaquin Valley, parts of the Mother Lode and the Sierra, but that's just the first part and the leading edge of what will be a 1-2 punch from this particular storm system. The next one heads in for tonight, and with it, we're going to get some gusty winds as well. It's going to be a very short-lived line of storms that moves through for tonight into early tomorrow morning. Our wind advisory in effect from 4 o'clock in the morning until 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Wind gusts 30 to 40 miles per hour, but everything's so saturated right now. We've already seen, even last night into this morning, had a few trees down, just falling with the weight of that saturated ground and just a bit of wind. Peak gusts at about 40 to 45 miles per hour last night. That's basically what we're heading in for tonight. As we head into the overnight hours and early tomorrow, the winds start to pick up, peaking right around the morning commute at roughly about 35 to 40 miles per hour, and then things wind down pretty quickly. Now, this will be in sequence with the strongest line of weather that moves through with heavy rain, and we'll see some ponding on the roadways for that morning commute. A brief break in this action, but we're still under that flood watch through Wednesday, Alex.
All right, and thousands of people remain without power across Northern California. This is what the PG&E power outage map looks like. A large part of West Sacramento is still in the dark, along with other parts of Yolo County. And then in Sacramento County, SMUD says that crews from outside departments are now helping to get the power back on. Tonight, tens of thousands of SMUD customers still have no power. And take a look at this. Yeah, sparks were flying in a backyard in the Pocket neighborhood this weekend after a tree fell into power lines. Man, that's exactly where Luke Cleary is in Sacramento's Pocket neighborhood with some new information. Good evening, Luke.
Yeah, good evening. We're here in the Little Pocket, and I tell you, if it weren't for the floodlights that we have on right now, you would not be able to see me because it is pitch black on some streets here. And if you walk around a little bit, it's not hard to see why. Huge trees like this old pine falling down into power lines and power poles. I want to show you some video that we took from earlier today. In the sunlight, you might be able to get a better look at it. This huge pine tree crashed into a neighbor's car and blocked Piedmont Street for a while before a crew could actually come in and then cut a section out of it. And then we spoke to Luke Nishamura, who sent us this wild video of a power line sparking in his backyard. He said it was like a spectacular light show, but obviously deeply concerning because he worried it could catch a tree or even his home on fire. And it seemed to take a long time for SMUD to shut the power off.
And it was kind of spectacular, as I said. I mean, it went on for, maybe 4 minutes longer. In fact, the neighbor over in the next court saw the sparking and everything, and they called the fire department.
SMUD says they have many other utilities in town right now helping them out. They said that there are 100 teams working to restore power. And as you come back out to me live here, families like the Nishimuras say that the help just can't come soon enough. As for the big trees like this one, it's sad to see one like this down on its side. One neighbor told me that they actually took the time to count the rings. This one is 62 years old. And as sad as it is to see big old trees like this falling over, the good news is that nobody in this case was hurt, Alex.
All right, Luke, thank you. And I agree, it definitely is sad to see all those trees down on the roadways, but happy that no one was hurt. All right, one neighborhood in Stockton can't catch a break during these storms. We brought you their story after their homes flooded last week. After the break, what happened in the big storm over the weekend. Stockton is feeling the wrath of last weekend's storms, and trees are down and power is still out for many. But one neighborhood in particular is bearing the brunt of these storms. Kurt Rivera brought you their story just last week, and they were dealing with flooding then. But Kurt, what does it look like this time around?
Well, as you know, as they say, when it rains, it pours. And as is the case here on West Rose Street in Stockton, well, the water is flooding into several homes over and over again. Once again, homeowner Fidel Obledo is facing this. floodwaters into his driveway, through the garage, and into a pair of rooms in his home.
On and on. We can't fix anything because it's going to happen again.
Neighbors say in the summer of 2021, repairs were made to the street's underground drainage system. But since then, it has only caused water to back up and come right back onto their properties.
Maybe about 6 inches so far.
This neighbor, who didn't want to be on camera, showed us this video of his garage from the overnight storm. He has sandbags around his home. He said water runs into his backyard and then he pumps it out into the street. And he says in his 10 years at the home, only after the repairs were done in the street 2 summers ago did the flooding begin.
For the last 2 years, every winter we're scrambling. What are we going to do now?
Jaime Perez and his wife Corey moved here 5 years ago. Now they say heavy rainwaters flood their backyard and make their way into the garage.
This is the third time we flooded since the drain repairs on the street. Just lots of water. Praying it doesn't come up into our house like it has our neighbors.
Homeowners impacted told me they called the city as directed to come pump the water. Instead, they say nothing was pumped. Fidel Obledo said a deputy director for the city's Department of Utilities also came out.
They told us they know there's a problem under the street, but they said that there's no money to fix the problem. And then when they do fix it, it's probably going to be 2-3 years from now.
And we've reached back out to the city again today. They sent us an email as a response saying, quote, "We are aware of the problem and we are addressing street flooding." They say they encourage the homeowner to file a claim with their homeowner's insurance provider. They can also submit a claim through the office of the city clerk. And as we reported last week, Alex, 2 of the homeowners out here did so, but those claims were rejected. And as we know, as Monica has been reporting tonight, well, it's going to rain again. Back to you.
All right, Kurt, thank you. Also, I want to mention we just got word from Stockton Unified School District, and they say that they are keeping campuses closed tomorrow. They say that they have found weather damage at many of their sites. Now, power outages have also impacted their food supply as well. Now, we've also got more on the effects of this last weekend storm. So after the break, we're in Vacaville, where there are evacuation warnings, and we're also talking about why the Sacramento weir is still not open. All right, an evacuation warning is in effect in Solano County near Alamo Creek, and this is a warning, but it could be upgraded to an order. Andy Judson is on the ground near Vacaville. And Andy, how is the creek looking at this point?
Yeah, Alex, well, to answer that simply, the creek is looking full. We've been here for about an hour now, and we've seen so many locals coming and going and checking out the creek because they're worried about Alamo Creek. They always say it's the first to flood. I'm going to give you a first-hand look here, and a lot of them across the region are preparing for the next set of storms, and that's why a sandbag station was set up at 1800 Alamo Drive near Fire Station 74. And today it quickly became one of the most popular places in town. That's where we met James Kane, who gave us some sandbag insider tips.
It's a bit of an art form. You always want to fill them just half full. Don't fill them full, because then you got to carry them and they won't compress and they won't form right.
Now, sandbags are so important because they stop that water from flowing. And how a lot of people are, getting the sandbags is because they're estimating it based off of gauges that are actually at the bottom of bridges like this one. And we went online to check what the gauge is at now. It has 4 different levels, with critical being the highest. And it's been set at critical for about 4 days now. One of our residents here we met said he's been monitoring it. He's never seen it go up this high. So it's definitely something worth watching. And of course, we'll continue to keep you updated, but I'll send it back to you now in the studio.
All right, Andy, thank you. Let's get things over to Monica. How are we looking outside?
Right now, we're looking at some dry weather. However, that flood watch continues through Wednesday. Rainfall and runoff combining for some river flooding and some street flooding. And as you were seeing right there, creeks and streams also overflowing their banks, making for a very difficult situation navigating, especially now since it's dark. Our storm timeline all the way through Saturday has rain showers, at least the chance of it through Saturday we're going to find some brief heavy rain, wind, thunderstorms, and snow coming in tonight through early tomorrow. The first part of the storm system now starting to push its way southward. Still some remnant showers through the mother lode as well as parts of the foothills and the Sierra. And as we look out to the Pacific, you can see this line of storms coming on through. This is going to take us all the way through the week. There's that back edge of that system that we started tracking late last night, early this morning. And with it, we've got some embedded thunderstorms as well. So that's going to be a part of the forecast into our Tuesday. The possibility of some brief heavy rain as well as some small funnel clouds that will be following both in the morning and then through the afternoon. The first round gave us about 1 inch to 2 inches of rain for the valley and the foothills. It was a mix of rain and snow for the Sierra. We've got more coming in by tomorrow, totaling another inch or so for the valley, over 2 inches of rain for the foothills, and it will be a mix of rain and snow for the Sierra once again. But we'll manage to get close to 1 to 4 feet of additional accumulation for the Sierra. Lots of changes happening in the Sierra, so just navigate very carefully into the high country. Temperatures currently in the 50s in the valley, 40s and 50s for the foothills, and we are below the freezing mark for many Sierra locations, which is nice to get that snow instead of rain in the high country. Wind advisory goes into effect early tomorrow at 4 a.m., lasts through 1 p.m. Wind gusts 30 to 40 miles per hour. The key factor here, no, these aren't going to be the strongest winds that we've seen over the past couple of days, but with the saturated ground, it's not going to take much for things to fall, especially tree limbs and some smaller trees onto some power lines. Could cause some more outages. Here's the band of rain coming through tonight into early tomorrow morning. Snow for the Sierra, and then we get that next wave by Wednesday. That's going to keep us in a very soggy forecast through the middle of the week. A bit of a break on Thursday. Now, it's interesting what's happening with that next line on Friday into Saturday. Some of the weather models suggesting it may not be until Saturday afternoon that we start to see the rain and snow pick up once again. In the mountains, it's going to be on and off rain and snow in the forecast through our Saturday outlook. Thursday being a fairly decent travel day for the mountains and the hills as well as along the coast. Got a chance of thunderstorms, though, from the coast through the valley for tomorrow's outlook, and that, again, could provide us with some brief heavy downpours and more flooding in the region. Wednesday, a chance of that rain coming right back in. Thursday, dry, and then we're back to that rainy storm cycle all the way through next week, Alex.
And the Sacramento weir has been a very hot topic throughout this series of storms. We've gotten the question from a lot of you, is the weir opening? Here's Brendan Menchef with more.
I'm here at the Sacramento weir, and as you can see behind me, the water is flowing through some of the gates. We're not going to see the gates open at all, though. The 48 manually operated gates will stay closed because the river gauge at I Street, the Sacramento River at I Street, right before the Tower Bridge, when that reaches 29.87 feet, then the Department of Water Resources, DWR, has to make a decision about whether they're going to open the Sacramento weir or not. Well, over the weekend, with river levels expected to crest at I Street right around 32 feet, it would have been a record high, and DWR was thinking they were going to have a problem on their hands. Well, over the weekend and in towards today, things have changed a little bit. Haven't seen quite as much rain. Shasta and Oroville, the big lakes up north, are not dumping water. They're not releasing any water downstream. And so that means the river now at I Street, the Sacramento River at I Street, is expected to crest around 27 feet, which is below the threshold and is manageable in terms of the water moving through the Sacramento River. So again, the gates on the weir are going to remain closed, even though some water's flowing through it. That's natural, but the gates themselves will be closed. That is the latest that we're hearing from the Department of Water Resources. But that does not mean the river's not running high. You'll see some side-by-side shots here of last week versus this week at Sacramento weir with the river levels and how high they are now compared to last week. And that's going to continue to run high. It's going to take quite some time for the river levels to come back to normal, especially with all the rain that we still have in the forecast. But the weir, as of right now, will remain closed. In Sacramento, Brendan Menchef for ABC 10.
Before we go, I want to reiterate how important it is that you listen to any evacuation orders or warnings that may be coming your way. Too many people get in danger by staying in their homes, and in many instances, when the flood comes, there might not be someone there to come and get you. So we have put a list together of resources to help you prepare and to also stay safe in these storms. It's very easy. Just text the word storm to 916-321-3310. We'll send you all the info that we have straight to your phone. And we will have more storm coverage on the damage done around the region and what efforts are underway to help the homeless coming up on Late News tonight at 11. And before we go, I do want to say a big thank you to all the crews, first responders, and communities who are working so hard together to keep us all safe. Your hard work does not go unnoticed. So be safe. And if you have something you think that we should know, reach out to me and the team. Have a great night. Stay safe. We'll see you tomorrow. Hey, it's Alex. Just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. I really love hearing from everyone, and I hope that you'll stay in touch. Reach out to me on Facebook at AlexBellTV, or you can email me at tothepoint@abc10.com, or you can even send me a text message at 916-321-3310.